Welcome back to me talking about stuff. So I said I was going to do this video, so I'm doing this video. This will be the first and actually more versus videos. I feel just something I want to talk about. Characters versus characters. It's fun to just speculate and, give your opinion. I'm doing this one on my own, but in the future episodes, I might actually have someone, there to deliberate and debate the topic with me. But, so I said, fuck it. I'm tipping my hat, weighing in on the whole Superman versus Batman debate. Now, I'm actually doing this because I've seen people argue this. I've argued this myself with people. And I don't see a lot of people ever arguing it properly. Now, when I say arguing it properly, I don't mean that people aren't just, saying it's like, oh, Batman's better than Batman, Batman's better than Superman. I see that too. But, no, I don't see people really trying to be rational about it. Or, they just like to throw facts, or they fanboy over, or fangirl, they fandom over one or the other, and they just don't like the other. So, I don't like people who just try to be, who dress yes man character because they like him over the other or something like that, or they think one is overhyped or something like that. I don't appreciate that. I don't like that. It's just irritating. So, this is my interpretation. I wrote down facts on a piece of paper right here that I can go to for my opinion. I will give my overall answer at the end, obviously. Now, I want to be clear that I know for certain that no matter what answer I'm getting, I'm going to have people saying I'm either right or wrong, that they don't agree with me, that they don't like what I said, or they do like what I said. I know I'm going to just spark people, because all these videos always spark people basically saying, you're wrong, you're right, or, I've seen just debates get listed in comment sections because of a video that had nothing to do with the video, because people are, fans and stuff like that. So I know that's going to happen. I don't care. I want to talk about it. So here's where we're going to go. So let's get something straight out of the way right now. I will be referencing, one of the things I want to get out of the way right now is when people talk about canon. Canon is official history for that character. Now, I'm not going to be using The Dark Knight Returns as canon. I will be taking things from The Dark Knight Returns as a point to make for my argument. But I agree, The Dark Knight Returns is not canon. It is an Elsewhere story. But that being said, there are also Superman Elsewhere stories that I will not reference. That old man Superman where he's got guns and he's killing bitches, that ain't being referenced at all. That is not Superman. That is an Elsewhere story Superman. There's nothing about that Superman in the context of who he is as a character that can be used in a debate like this. Also, when it comes to canon, you cannot technically... Here's my problem with canon. Is that everyone who always argues Superman can do this, Superman can do that, and say, it's canon that this happened, it's canon that happened. Guess what? DC got rebooted into the New 52 a couple years ago. Everything you thought was canon now is not technically canon anymore. So, I don't... People try to argue the canon. It kind of doesn't work when that's no longer canon. But for the sake of this argument, we'll say anything New 52-wise and anything in the new one or in the previous Marvel or DC history is canon. We'll say that. So, now for debate, the whole issue with Batman versus Superman, but Batman versus Superman is a very... I wouldn't say it's it's kind of complex, but it's very hit and miss all over the place. We talk about... a lot of people like to try to just go up stats and stuff like that. And I'll run down this real quick. Superman, we all know Superman's abilities. He's got a laundry list of abilities. Super strength, super speed, he can fly, he's near invulnerable. He's got his weaknesses. He's weak to kryptonite. He's weak to magic. And he is... He actually is also, believe it or not, he's also got extremely sensitive hearing that you can actually, bust his eardrums out and stuff like that. And that actually is I wouldn't say it's a weakness, but it's a way you can actually immobilize him. Batman, he's human. He is peak human. He's actually like slightly above peak human. He's like his lowest tier of superhuman you could be, while still technically being superhuman. He's like, Captain America is actually technically superhuman. He's like Captain America level physique. He is like the perfect human being in terms of physique. He is a master strategist. He has studied every martial art and mastered every martial art. He's a master. He's the world's greatest detective for a reason. He's a genius. Superman's also a genius. So, but here's the thing: people argue that I've even seen some things where there was a comic where Superman, like, actually said he could actually improve Batman's tech somewhat if Batman would accept his help and stuff like that. And people would argue Superman's smarter than Batman. Being smarter in one area and being overall smarter is not the same thing. Batman, I believe, is the overall smarter individual, but Superman is definitely more intelligent in some ways. He's also a kinder individual. That being said, they both have an ego on them. They are both full of themselves to a degree. In Batman's case, he is overconfident. He said he also understands he has his limits as a human being. He is only human. That's why when fighting like major foes like Darkseid or Imperialax or any like in the Ring Wars or something like that. That's why the Ring Wars he was technically dead at the time, but that's why oftentimes when like fighting with the Justice League, he's fighting with a group because he knows he can't do it all by himself. He understands his limitations as a human, though he has accomplished like godly feats among men. He has, in certain contexts, he's defeated Superman. He's defeated metahumans far stronger than themselves. He's outwitted Darkseid. He killed Darkseid. He legitimately killed Darkseid in the previous canon. Or I believe it was the Orion bullet. He outshot his Omega Beam. Yeah, again, that's the writing and whatnot. You can get upset at the writing if you want, but that happened. That's canon. But again, that being said, Superman has an ego on him too. He is overconfident sometimes because Superman is among the strongest of all comic characters. He is, he's not the de facto ultimate superhero, but he is damn near close. And because of that, he is a god among men and most other metahumans. He does have an ego. He holds. It's even stated that in one fight that Batman and Superman had, and this is canon, or this happened, that Batman always knows that Superman is holding back. Superman does hold back in his fights because he doesn't, he can't unleash his full power because he destroyed the Earth and all this stuff, but also because he doesn't want to kill or anything like that. He doesn't want to hurt them. So, but that can lead Superman to start losing in a fight because he holds back. And this is where I don't like where a lot of fans go. The whole what ifs of behind their personalities and stuff like that. Because of their personality, the whole what if situation. Like, well, Superman, if you wanted to, could just blast his head with a laser blast, or you could just destroy the planet, or just toss him into space or something like that. My problem with this is that in any scenario where Batman and Superman would legitimately fight, they already know each other. This is not a one-on-one first time meeting or anything like that. This is if you're talking about a scenario where Batman and Superman are going to fight, these characters know about each other. These characters have either met or they at least know about each other. So it would probably be more, and again, I'm just where I'm taking a reference from, it's probably be more like The Dark Knight Returns, where one challenges the other to meet somewhere and they would face off. Now, when they get on the whole, he could just do this and this and this. Okay, he could do that, you're right. When has he ever done that? When is that in his personality to do that? I literally have a list here of the times Superman has killed individuals. You want to know how many times he's actually killed someone in canon? And I'm not using movies, by the way. There are no movies being involved in this. You want to know the times he's killed someone? Superman killed Dr. Light in the New 52 in the Trinity War. He blasted his head off with a laser beam. That was revealed to be him under mind control, as it was, to discredit the Justice League even further. So you can't count that. He technically killed, and I want to try to get this guy's name right, Mr. Mixzitip. He was voiced by Gil Raleigh, the fifth dimensional being. And the way he did that was trapped in between two dimensions, which is essentially killing him. And then he went into a gold kryptonite room to commit suicide or something like that. Obviously he didn't die. But that technically kills him. Next time he did it was between Imperiex and Brainiac when they were trying to destroy the universe. What he ended up doing was basically taking them back to the Big Bang through the time travel, and their consciousness got spread over trillions of light years. Which is not technically killing them. It's just spreading their consciousness out. But if you want to call it that, that's technically it. Doomsday. He killed Doomsday because he had to kill Doomsday. That is a legit kill. That being said, it's also Death of Superman, and he had no choice. That's one of those times where he had no choice to do it. And then Zod. They gave him no other goddamn choice but to kill him. And that is the thing about Superman's character. Superman never kills unless he absolutely, positively had to. And even then, it goes against everything about his character, really. And here's to be clear, too. I'll just reference Man of Steel real quick. I liked the fact that they brought in he killed Zod, he snapped his neck, because it brings moral dilemma and defines the code of Superman, because he was, Superman for maybe 24 hours maximum in that movie? He was a new Superman. He didn't know what he was doing. At his best, he was like, I gotta stop him. He wasn't the Superman everyone came to know. And that's why I think a lot of people hated that movie. He wasn't the Superman they thought. In all of those scenarios, though, he was either under mind control, or he didn't really kill anyone. The only two ones you can make the exception for is Doomsday, which, yeah, he killed him. He did, but he's technically not even sentient. He's just a mindless monster. He became sentient later on, but he's just a mindless monster. And Zod was the only one you could say he legitimately killed. Even then they brought Zod back later on. So he's never really killed anyone. He's never truly killed anyone except under weird duress circumstances or being controlled. So this whole point is that Superman would not want to be killing anyone in this entire fight. He would want to incapacitate or, just try to defeat them without going killing. He would only resort to killing if he absolutely 100% had no other choice. And in a fight with Batman, he would not see that. And again, Dark Knight Returns, again, I know a lot of people don't like me. I'm not using that as canon, but I'm using that scenario as an example. In that entire fight, he was never going all out. First off, he was weak in that fight, but he was never going all out, even as in a weakened state. He didn't want to kill Bruce. He wanted to basically make him see his point. And it was a conflict of ideologies in that movie. That was what it was. And it does turn out Batman's right in his ideology comparatively to Superman. And I know people say that story glorifies Batman, and they're right in some respects. It does glorify Batman. It does not take away the fact that it's a great story. It's a great Elsewhere story. But that's the thing. That's how that fight was actually a more realistic portrayal of how the fight would take place, because anyone who argues against that doesn't seem to comprehend what Superman's personality is actually like. Superman does not want to kill you if he has to. He doesn't want to fight you if he doesn't have to. But if the first push came to shove and they had to fight, that is a similar circumstance of how that fight would go down in Superman's case, because he doesn't want to kill him. He just wants to try to stop him. Batman's different. And I've had a conversation about why I think. I'm going to say right now, I'm not a huge Superman fan. I've grown more fond of him because of Man of Steel, believe it or not, but I've never liked Superman that big because he's just boring of a character. He is a Boy Scout most of the time, and don't you dare use those effects those reasons I gave right now. And most of the time, he's that truth, justice, and the American way before he announces American citizenship. He's that goody two shoes kind of character. He's so powerful that the only ones who can challenge him are gods most of the time. Like Darkseid's one of the only ones who can really challenge him. And even then, they make him usually stronger than Darkseid. He's just too damn powerful, with his only real weakness being a glowing green rock. I'm sorry, that's not an interesting character in my mind. Batman, because he's human, he's limited, he's flawed. He's got far more limitations and far more interesting stories, and that just makes a more interesting character. Besides, he's a darker character, and I like slightly darker characters. But Batman's different. Batman is very paranoid. It's been established that his mental stability has always been questioned. He's a paranoid individual. He has contingencies for the contingencies for the contingencies. He has a number of backup plans. To reference something non-canon again, Tower of Babel, he literally has a way to incapacitate, which later gets turned into a way to kill, but obviously doesn't work, the entire Justice League, and every one of those plans actually worked. If not for few short, little last-minute things by Batman to save them all, that would have honestly worked. Batman, it literally, because he does not trust anyone. He does not. Because he's seen darker times. He's a much more jaded individual than Superman. Therefore, he makes sure that if he's going up against an opponent, he is going to try to do everything he can to win. And that's where the difference is. People often comment about The Dark Knight Returns, saying that it wasn't Batman doing it. He did it with the help of John Oliver of Green Arrow. Yeah, sure. But Green Arrow didn't get that green kryptonite arrow. Batman got the green kryptonite arrow. Batman had the time and money to get that kind of thing. And he even said, I could have made it worse, but he didn't want to kill Superman either in that. Batman will do what it takes to win. Same old Superman, but the difference is that Batman thinks, he can't take the one himself. He will bring others in to help him, like Green Lantern. Or, in a recent one from Bat in the Sun, where Batman fought Vader, people got on that person's case. So that's not a real Batman versus Vader fight. It was an alternate ending, too, so Vader actually won that fight. But in the alternate ending, he actually freed Superman to take out Vader. I'm like, you realize that's who Batman is, right? Batman is the guy who... If people always talk about the Batman v Superman thing like it's a one-on-one thing, Batman is... The whole plan is Batman. That whole plan to bring in other people to try to take out Superman, because that's what Batman would do. He knows he can't take Superman on himself without some extreme things. That's why he has kryptonite on him all the time, like a kryptonite ring. That's why he brings in John Oliver with the Arrow. That's why he were to get Wonder Woman or Green Lantern to help him out or something like that if he thinks Superman had to be taken down. That is who Batman is. Batman is the guy, and as I was saying, I had a discussion of why Batman is the better hero as opposed to Superman, is that if these two had to face off, Batman would go in knowing he was going to lose, but he would go in anyway, and that is why he is the better hero, generally speaking, in my mind anyway. Superman has done that too. Okay, let's be clear. Superman has technically done that, but like Doomsday, he probably knew he was going to lose in that, but that's a rare circumstance where Superman kind of lost that fight. I mean, he won, but he lost at the same time. Other than that, though, he usually thinks he can come out on top. Even with Darkseid, he usually thinks he can come out on top. Batman's confidence is off the charts, but he knows his limitations as an individual. He would go into a fight with Superman knowing there's a high likelihood he's going to lose. Even with Superman holding back, he knew that he can't... And again, Dark Knight Returns. He knew he actually couldn't beat Superman. He was really just stalling him. The only reason he won, really, and he didn't even... Here's the thing. Everyone likes his actually... Even I'll say this. Even in the Dark Knight Returns, even though he technically beats Superman, and I like that line, the one man who beat you. It's a great line. He technically didn't beat Superman. All he did was he was proving a point to Superman. He did not beat Superman. But if he wanted to, as he said, he could have actually beat Superman in the way that scenario played out. It's a matter of scenario and circumstance in this. And when you break that down, when you break down all their characteristics, who they are as characters, 9 times out of 10, Superman is going to win. But Batman can beat Superman given those right circumstances, right theories, and right plan out, and because of who they are. Because Batman's the guy who actually won't hold back, as opposed to the guy who will hold back and still be a brick shithouse. But that's just it. Superman, he doesn't want to be doing this, but Batman would go into knowing that he'd probably have to. Because in the scenario where they're fighting, it's going to be something along the lines of Dark Knight Returns, where he's not going to want to do it, but he... And again, I know that's not canon. But when you break down a scenario where these two are going to fight, that is the most realistic scenario where those two fight. They know each other, they don't want to do it if they don't have to, but Batman will go in there, guns blazing, going all out on Superman while Superman is holding back. So while Superman will most likely win 9 times out of 10, that 10% time, Batman will come out on top because, first off, Superman does not underestimate Batman whatsoever. Superman has been on record saying that Batman is the most dangerous individual on the planet. And when Superman calls you the most dangerous individual on the planet, you can take that shit to the bank. And if Batman is someone who scares Superman, that is not someone you mess with. That proves that Superman knows that in the right context, he could lose to Batman. But that's why he and Batman are friends. That's why they trust each other. I mean, I said Batman doesn't trust anyone. Superman's about the closest he comes to trusting, short of Alfred. So that is why that would happen, honestly. So in the long run, yes, I agree Superman is stronger and generally he's more powerful in every way. I do think Batman is probably the overall smarter individual, especially tactician. Batman is, I'm pretty certain, a better tactician than Superman is. But on that 10% day, Batman can take out Superman, but it involves planning. Because that's the thing, Batman wins a lot of his fights through prudent planning and strategizing before the fight actually takes place. And that's how actually victories are won. It's not the one-on-one confrontation, which Superman, that's what Superman does half the time, if you've ever noticed it. Superman flies up to confront the enemy, maybe try to talk them out of it, and then gets blasted, and then a fight ensues, and then, yeah, he eventually wins. Where's the yeah, he's trying diplomacy. After that, where's the tactic? Yeah, he uses tactics sometimes. I'm not going to argue that. But really, I'm sorry. That Batman is the better tactician. Because let's be clear. Again, in that fight, in The Dark Knight Returns, again, I know it's not canon, Batman would plan that thing out perfectly. He wasn't trying to really, truly destroy or kill Superman. He was just putting him in the perfect position, waiting for Oliver, and then the arrow came at. So you knew Superman would catch it, but the way the arrow was designed, it was like a vapor powder, and then he inhales it, and then it goes down. And that's how Batman was basically, planning for this fight to go the whole time. And then, he fakes a heart attack, basically to prove a point, stay out of my way. So, yes, I give the win, generally speaking, to Superman, just because that's how that would play out. But Batman can beat him. He can beat him. But it's generally speaking going to be a Superman will win, because I don't like the whole, he can just do this. He could break the earth and throw Batman in space. It's not in his character to do that, folks. I'm sorry. You can't argue that when you know it's not in his character to do that. If in an actual fight, New 52, when they fought off in the very beginning, Batman did his best, and obviously Superman was winning that entire fight. But then Superman basically is just he basically proves the point. He's I know who you are, Clark. And Superman basically is okay, you proved your point. If Batman had kryptonite, we're going with the kryptonite. If Batman had actually prepared for him, even Batman in that universe knows that he's I don't think we can beat this guy. And the Green Lantern, being the cocky son of a bitch he was, just where you have Green Lantern, I can take him, and he could not. So Batman knows he could not take Superman right from the get-go. He needs prudent time and planning to take on Superman. But that's the thing. Batman, with enough time, can beat any individual, really. He beat Darkseid, for God's sake, and that is canon. A lot of people don't like that, but that is canon. He outshot the Omega Beam, for God's sake, with our Orion, I think it was called the Orion bullet, or Orion, something like that. It was a bullet designed to kill gods, basically, and, Darkseid's a god, so, and then it brought up the whole, Omega Sanction thing and whatnot, and let's not get into that. So, yes. To end this, as I just stated, Superman will win, generally speaking, most of the time. But Batman can defeat him, folks, if given the right proper planning, right setup. And again, if you don't ever think of a fight as 101 in this regard. When you're a mortal man going up against a literal god of a man, you cannot say a team against the god is not a fair fight. The team, the whole plan, that is Batman. Batman is the plan. Batman is the plan that he makes to basically defeat Superman. And if it involves other people, then that counts as Batman defeating him. He created the plan to defeat Superman. So, really, I don't understand why people get so... It's no, Batman... But Batman did it with the help of others. And? Batman thought of the plan to beat him, folks. I just don't get it why people try to argue that when it's yeah, Superman can do this and that, but it's not in his character to do that. So why are you arguing that point in a legit fight that would probably happen in the comics? And it's Batman can't do it without help. And it's Batman's plan that brought down Superman. So why are you arguing this? I don't know. It just bothers me when people try to argue that so poorly in my mind. Now, maybe I didn't argue this the best way possible either. You can put it in the comments below if I argued it or not. I'm just saying this is my thought on how this fight would go down. And this is coming from someone who's not a big fan of Superman. I do agree Superman will win most of the time. But I also agree that Batman is capable of beating Superman. With everything I've said. Proper planning, allies helps, probably got some kryptonite on him, obviously, because that's usually how he does it. Maybe his armored batsuit again. So really, it's a free-fall. So in the end, Superman will win most of the time. Batman wins some of the time. But he can beat Superman if need be. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I know that I know I'm going to get flack for this video eventually. I am. Or people are going to like it. One of the two. But I just felt like doing it. So I don't know what the next verses will be. This will probably next verses probably won't be up for a couple of weeks. Well, maybe not next week, but the week after it might come up. I'll think of a couple ones, and then I'll ask a couple of people I know for some ideas on verses. I know I do have a few up in my head that I want to go over for verses, but thanks for watching. I'll see you for the next one. And again, this coming week will be Fast 7, so I'll be at Fast 7. So.